What was in the skies over Jerusalem?
Above the Dome on the Rock. In Jerusalem, the Temple Mount, of course we know, which is a holy site. And it hovers, kind of a pulsating orb.
Visual glances of these things, they seem to just simply disappear. They're gone.
Exactly. I mean, they're appearing out of nowhere and then disappearing right in front of people. And that's why scientists who have no axes to grind, they just say that it doesn't make that much sense. And also, if they're just trying to observe us, to take account of what we're doing on Earth, I mean, after a while, after so many months or years or centuries, it kind of gets old. They either would take us over, or they've already discovered all the information they need to know about Earthlings. And so they're just going to take us over or make first contact and just sort of do what they need to do next. To endlessly observe us, it doesn't make any sense. It's something where, and also see, if we have all these sightings, as you know much better than I do, where are they landing? We don't see them getting out to get anything to drink or to eat. We don't see them, they've never tried to make, contact with any large amount of people in a major city. And so this doesn't, and also all the endless medical procedures that the people who have claimed to have been abducted, why the endless medical procedures? I mean, if we're talking about such an advanced race of alien beings, they don't need to do that over and over and over again.
In spite of considerable harassment, professional pilots continue to come forward with their accounts of incredible encounters with UFOs. Inventor and author Dr. Richard Haynes is seen here working with his computerized research file of over 3,000 UFO sightings by commercial and military pilots. Because good eyesight and sharp abilities of observation are required to become a professional pilot, Dr. Haynes believes that the testimony of these credible witnesses cannot be ignored.
UFO sightings are skyrocketing in 2012, and we're barely 2 weeks in. Eyewitnesses reporting strange things in 36 out of the 50 states. We are joined on the phone right now, Peter Davenport from he's the director of the UFO Center there in Washington.
For this program, I reviewed our database. We took 110 reports on New Year's Eve. 13 of them are from Florida. And something is going on. I think it's picked up dramatically, the number of reports we're receiving, but what it means, I have no idea.
Mexican Air Force pilots capturing on videotape what are said to be 11, count them, 11 UFOs, unidentified flying objects. They are officially that. Bright objects, some sharp points of light moving quickly across the sky. The tape called historic by some. Members of the Mexican Defense Department saying it's the first time UFOs have had the backing of any country's armed forces. Now, a group of activists calling on the United States government to end what it says is an embargo on the truth about extraterrestrial life. The Mexican military says, hey, we took these pictures, these are UFOs. What was that, you know?
This is significant for two reasons. Shepard. One, this is released by the Defense Ministry of Mexico. This is a message being sent to the United States government that Mexico and many other governments are losing patience with our government's intransigence in ending this embargo. Other messages have been sent by France in 1999 with the Cometa report, and by the United Kingdom when they released a substantial number of documents regarding the Bentwaters case in 2000. Many countries know about the extraterrestrial presence, but they deferred to the United States with regard to the timing of when disclosure would take place. Disclosure is at hand. It is very close, and the American people need to prepare themselves very soon for an announcement from our government that there is, in fact, an extraterrestrial presence engaging this planet and the human race.
To prove once and for all that this formation is not the result of elaborate equipment or television trickery, we placed a time-lapse camera 140 feet above the crop. One picture is taken every 17 seconds. Take a look as three men with some boards and rope finally unmask one of the world's most mysterious scams in under 6 hours. Working outward from the center, the circle makers begin the swirling pattern by flattening down the crop with their homemade wood planks. The planks, called stalk stompers, are different sizes, each with holes on the ends where the rope is looped through. Each member then holds onto the rope like reins on a horse and gallops along, flattening down the grain as he goes. The design of the formation is what dictates the lay of the crop. This and the size of the boards are in part responsible for the complex woven patterns that seem to baffle researchers. Remember the third attribute of all genuine crop circles, sacred geometry? Well, the circle makers confess they're not interested in that. If it works out that the design means something to those who discover it, all the better. Having said that, the key to this crop circle is the tram lines. And as luck would have it, the tram lines are exactly 48 feet apart. 48 is divisible by 6, and 6 is an important number in sacred geometry. In fact, all of the diameters of all of the circles in the main formation are divisible by 6.
Some people say, well, they're from another galaxy. Most physicists will debunk that for lots of reasons. They seem to pose that way, but for lots of, if they came, you know, if there are that many coming from another galaxy, you think you'd sense the traffic. We'll come to that with some more reasonable explanations, and you're going to discover the two top researchers in the last century, really, is Jacques Vallée, France, and J. Allen Hynek, the American. Now, J. Allen Hynek was head of astronomy at Cornell. And he set out to debunk this nonsense about UFOs, and he became one of the most ardent, competent, balanced researchers in the trade. J. Allen Hynek, he died a few years ago. Both of these respected researchers came to the conclusion that they're not intergalactic. For lots of physics, there are a lot of physics rebuttals to that conjecture. They both argued that these things are demonic. Their term. They've written many, many books. You can check them out. These are not religious people. They're not people with any kind of personal agenda. But they came to the conclusion that these things, on the one hand, and by the way, we take for granted that we strip away the nonsense and the hoaxes, set that aside. There's tens of thousands of files you have to walk through. When you cut through all that, there's still a core group, a substantial core group of real events that need explanation. And so on the one hand, they exhibit physical properties on the one hand. On the other hand, they also violate all physical laws. And so the conclusion from that both J. Allen Hynek and Jacques Vallée and others have come to is that they're hyperdimensional, that somehow they come from another dimension periodically.
I remember a song that came out talking about the age of Aquarius. And since then, we've seen the development of the New Age, and I wondered if back when you were involved in spirit worship, if they talked about New Age at all.
Oh yes, it was a big thing that was coming up. One of the major deceptions of the last days. And the priest told us, we talked quite a while, and then he said, could I have a little bit more of your time? I want to do something very fascinating. He says the grain plain, the master's grain plain, for harvesting the nations, for harvesting the multitudes of the earth into his cause, just before the close of the great controversy between the forces of good and evil. So we continued, after we expressed ourselves that we're deeply interested to know more about the activities of spirits. And he said it's going to be done in a unique manner. This grand plan is going to take people are going to eat the stuff. Because he says spirits, demon spirits, will declare themselves to be inhabitants of far distant planets in the galaxies that are coming to warn the inhabitants of planet Earth of the impending destruction of the planet, unless something seriously proper is done to avoid it. The spirits will show themselves willing to give valuable guidance that will not only help people avoid the destruction of the planet, but it will cause them to enter into a higher state of existence.
You cannot have a material or physical being penetrating the ground, penetrating the water, appearing in front of people, then disappearing instantly, and then also changing colors, sometimes only when they're accelerating, with every color in the spectrum has been recorded. Many UFOs coming and making one UFO breaking apart and then going into multiple UFOs. It doesn't make sense. And then not only just that, but to get into the fact of how far they're traveling and the speed that they would have to travel, and just the other problems with cosmic dust and traveling at the speed of light, and then running into those bits of cosmic dust, the explosions that would be created, the amount of energy that would be consumed and traveling from these distances. Just all those kinds of things really scream out that you're dealing with a spiritual phenomenon, not a material or physical phenomenon.
There does seem to be a deception here, because I've always wondered, You know, my gosh, if they're that benevolent, if they're that understanding of humankind, make yourself available.
That's why you know, some of these other scientists have said that they seem to be trying to set people up to deceive them as if they are aliens, but the facts just say that they can't be that there's something else. It doesn't make any sense, and there's something else, a psychological deception that's going on here. And many of these scientists say, I don't know what it is, but we've concluded that it's got to be that. It's got to be something bigger is going on here than just them trying to show people that, yes, you know, here's a UFO that you're seeing now, we are aliens, that there's got to be something else going on here, on top of the fact that the characteristics of them show that they just cannot be some material or physical craft.
This grand plan is going to take people are going to eat the stuff, because it says spirits, demon spirits, will declare themselves to be inhabitants of far distant planets in the galaxy. Demon spirits will declare themselves to be inhabitants of far distant planets in the galaxies. Far distant planets in the galaxies. People are going to eat the stuff.
He used the words New Age to describe what was coming.
It would be a glorious New Age. Yeah. And he went on and said, as I said earlier, that as life on this planet becomes more and more difficult, and calamities will strike the planet more and more frequently,
Hi, I'm Justin Dean, video editor, couch philosopher, and conspirator. This is just simply an idea or ideas that should be considered. We've been taught by Hollywood what to think about aliens. These aliens, possibly demons, are interdimensional beings. And these beings break all laws of physics. Ultimately, it doesn't make sense for them to endlessly watch us. There's no physical evidence. Very unlikely. There is possibly a massive hoax going on.
When they come for you, you're paralyzed and you're in another state of consciousness. And I believe they are trying to help us evolve. As brutal as the abductions can be, and believe me, George, they are frightening. They are terrifying. They destroy your life. But all that said, my opinion is they are trying to help us.
What do you think they want?
I know what they wanted.
All right, what do they want?
They wanted my DNA to create hybrid races.
And what are they going to do with these hybrids?
That's a really good question, and I don't know the answer.
How would they be able to obtain a body? Through modifying the genetic code. An alien invasion were to occur now, two things would happen. People would give up their freedoms for protection. We would unite under a one world to fight a common cause out of fear. But they'd also give up God. The Bible and the ancient Chinese records are the only record left of the history of the world. good toilet water.